Hi, thank you so much for joining me today for day 18 of 30 Days of Sketches, round 10 with Christie's Beautiful Life. And day 18's sketch, which you will have just seen there at the beginning, is by the wonderful Niki Rowland, who I have the pleasure of calling a friend. She runs Go Go Getaway and she's absolutely fabulous as a scrapbooker and a person. So today's layout has 3 strips down the middle of the page vertically, and I knew I wanted to add some mixed media, and today I decided that I would use some clear gesso. This is just a Liquitex gesso that I picked up at a local art shop, but this will just allow the mixed media to sit on top of the card rather than soaking in, so that you've got more time to manoeuvre and things. It's a really handy product to have, gesso, and I use the clear one when I'm using it to put on the cardstock, because sometimes the white has a different tone to the cardstock. Cardstock isn't always pure white, so it's easier if you just use clear. So I'm using the Stardust collection from Jen Hadfield for these photos, and this was a sewing workshop that I went on with my lovely friend Julie and Lesley, and this was back in 2013. It was with Lynette Anderson, who's a British stitcher, but she lives in Australia now. So these colours I thought worked perfectly. I love these orangey tones. This Stardust collection really is worth a look. It's absolutely beautiful. I wasn't sure at first because it's got some holographic elements, and it's almost got like a 60s vibe, but it really is gorgeous, as you'll see here. So just creating my strips, and I'm using the 6x8 pad, so the join will be covered by my photos. I'm not too concerned about that. So just measured 4.5 centimetres there for that strip, and then I'm using this fabulous blue for the second strip, and I'm actually going to tear the edge of this one. So just trimming off that top, and then I'll do the same. I'll cut the 2 pieces the same size, and I just use I don't really measure, I just use the edge of the trimmer there to make sure that the 2 pieces are the same. But I couldn't tell you what size. I'm guessing around 2.5 centimetres. So just tearing the edges here, and then layering those on just to check that I'm happy with it. The gesso does make the card bend slightly, so you see me there just bending it back. So I was just bringing my inks in, and then I thought I'd better just double check exactly where these strips are going to go so that I know where to place my ink stripes. And I'm going to start off with Antique Linen, which is this yellowy colour, and I'm just rubbing it straight onto the card, because like I say, we've got that gesso underneath, so I'll have plenty of time to manipulate and manoeuvre the colours. The next one was Dried Marigold, and then this is Tea Dye. I felt that Dried Marigold was just ever so slightly too orange, and then I'm coming in with the pink that I use all the time. So just using my water spray to dampen that, and then I shall start messing about and manoeuvring these inks until I'm happy with the final result. So just adding a bit more water as I go and blending them around. And you can see how they just sit on top of the paper there rather than soaking in, so it's great, and it just provides a slightly different look to the page. And what I really love is you'll see in the middle on the left hand side there, I just caught the edge of the ink block in the pink, and you'll see in a minute I can just wet that and then go over my tissue and bring it up, because it doesn't stay because of that gesso. And the same up the top here. I think I need to add some water to my water spray. It's not spraying that well. But look at how all those inks are blooming together. It's absolutely gorgeous. And like I say, this gesso just gives it a little bit more time to do that. So just bringing in my strip to check that I'm happy, that I've got enough, that the mixed media is wide enough for the paper to sit on. It's not just going to get lost. And then I'm just going to add some splatters as well with that Tattered Rose. That's the pink colour. So first of all I'm widening that stripe a little bit, and then I think I was worried it got a little bit too muddy there where the colours have mixed together, so just adding a bit more of that Tattered Rose, and then I shall go in with some splatters. Here we go. And again, it's just introducing that colour into the other parts of the layout. And this is Kitsch Flamingo. I just wanted something slightly brighter. You can see how that shows up more against those colours. And then I will leave that to dry. Now while I'm leaving that to dry, I work on my strips that are going to go down the middle. So I cut these strips to 6¼ inches and then glue them together just with some double-sided tape in the middle. And that will give me enough to go just over the 12 inches, and then I can trim off the excess. So there I am with the double tape. And a great tip is to use if your trimmer's like mine with an arm, it has a lip at the bottom, and I use that lip just to check that they are straight. And you'll see with this one I actually use the lip to glue the two pieces together, and that's a really nice and easy way to make sure that they're level and straight. So again, just in with a small piece of double-sided tape, laying that on the lip, and then the other piece there. And now I took this lovely, it's like a geometric print, I suppose, and I just cut halfway through the circles and diamonds, and then I'm just cutting the scalloped edge, and this will make my third strip. I've also got the mixed media as my third strip in the background there. So just checking how that looks, and I'm really happy with that because it's bringing that orange back in after you've got that navy blue. So I'll just check that I'm happy, and then I'm going to distress the edges of that orange strip before sticking it down. So going in with the navy one first, because that's already got the distressed edge where I've torn it, and then this one's going to go on there, but as I say, I shall distress it first with my edge distresser. Just using my T-ruler to check that that's straight before I continue. And here we are with the edge distresser. I won't make you watch all of this because it's you've seen me doing it a million times. So there we are, just getting rid of the paper dust, and then that can go down. Now I did think about bringing my sewing machine out to stitch these strips down. It's one of my favourite things to do when I'm doing vertical strips down the centre of a page, or almost the centre of a page. But I was just feeling too lazy, so in the end I actually pulled out my 49 & Market stitched washi tape, and that's a great alternative. The white background blends slightly into the papers that it lays on top of, not completely but enough, you'll see in a minute, and it's just adding another dimension to those papers. What I did forget to do, and you'll see me doing this, I forgot to trim the top of those strips off. Remember I said that they were over 12 inches. Well, I forgot about that. Stuck the washi down, and then as I was sticking the second piece down I realised that. So I'm just ruffling up the edges of this scalloped edge just to keep it in line with all the other pieces which have been distressed. Checking my placement, checking that those joins are nicely covered with the photo, which they are, and here we are. Here's that lovely washi tape. So I've used the pale green. I'd normally go for the black, but I decided to use some of the green on this one because we've got green in the leaves and things on the papers. And it's just as I'm sticking the second one down I realised, look at that, you can see so clearly at the top that the papers are longer than the 12 by 12 card. So just pull those back again and trim that off. And now I'm starting to think about matting my photos. I pull this paper out and then think actually I want a white mat underneath the photo first. So I just trim off the excess bits that don't need to be there on the photo. It was just some of more of the cobblestones and a bit more of the trees at the top behind our heads. So didn't really need those. Gluing it down onto some scrap card, and then I'll distress the edges of this and then choose my background paper. So I want to bring in this pale blue, but I wasn't happy with that piece. I thought it was too much of a contrast against the others. Consider this floral, but we've already got that on the strip, so I didn't really want to do that again. Those rainbows caught my eye, but I decided against that. And then I saw this lovely sunburst one, and that's got the navies and the greens, which I really wanted to bring in because we're wearing a lot of navy, and obviously the greens in the background there with the trees and bushes. So just gluing that down, and then I shall cut that out and distress the edges, and then I'll do exactly the same with the small square, which is the cushion that we actually made on the sewing day. I really wanted to include that because you remember, now I still remember because I know I haven't completed it yet, but you remember for a while, and then eventually you forget. If you do several with the same teacher, you forget which project you were doing at what time. So you can see there I've distressed both of the edges, done exactly the same with the square picture of the cushion. And now I'm going to come in. Niki's got a starburst you can just see at the top of the screen there underneath her photo, and her photo is horizontal where I went for a vertical photo. I didn't want to do a starburst, but I've got this stencil from Tim Holtz and it's called Stitches, and I thought that was quite apt because obviously it was a sewing workshop. So just going in with my tattered rose again because I just wanted it to be a subtle hint of that pink, and I will cover most of it over as I usually do. But it just, again, it's just adding a little bit of background interest to the layout. It doesn't always have to be obvious and in your face. All these layers all add to the interest. So just checking that I'm happy, adding a few more down the bottom here. And I think that's it done. And now I'm coming in with this grid stamp from Darkroom Door. We've got these in the shop at Hey Little Magpie now. It's a fabulous stamp. And I'm using the chipped sapphire. Again, it's something that I would usually use with a black ink, but I wanted to stick with the navies that we've got going on here. So just per Niki's sketch, a bit of it below the photo and a little bit above as well. She's got a grid texture on her sketch, and straight away as soon as I saw that I thought of this stamp and thought, well, that's perfect. So just repositioning the photo each time to check that I'm happy that enough of the grid is showing. You can see there by the time I've added some embellishments that's not going to show at all, so I just want to add a little bit more there. And I'm not too worried about it overlapping because these overlap lines will be covered by my ephemera bits that go up there. So now just going in with some splats just to activate that oxide, because we've got the watercolour effect on the background that we created earlier. I didn't want this to be too clean, the stamping on this, so just adding some water and then daubing it off with my paper towel, and that just distresses it a little bit. So coming in with my 6-2 foam pads to adhere these two photos down. Again, just checking the positioning. Checking that I'm happy with my stamping, because once these are down it's much harder to add things like that tuck behind the photos. So I want to make absolutely sure so I'm not having to lift it off like I have done so many times recently. So get the main photo down first and then I'll add that smaller one. I have to add some glue on the left hand side of it where it overlaps the photo, and I've just put foam pads on the right hand side. So T-ruler to check that I'm square. And then there's the glue. So it's just that Nouveau Deluxe adhesive that I always use. It's great. It's a really nice PVA glue. And now this little box is full of pieces that I've hand cut. I hand cut from the flowers from that orange paper that I've used as my strip. And then there's a paper with butterflies on that I hand cut. Just something that I do while I'm watching the telly, while away the hours if I'm bored of my knitting. It's something else to do. These are all from the 6x8 paper pad as well. I like hand cutting, fussy cutting from the 6x8 paper pad because they're normally scaled down, so they're a much smaller size and great for scattering pieces like this. So going through the foam stickers now to see what I can find, and straight away I find this piece that says laughter is the best sound, and we really did have some giggles at this day. It really was an amazing day. So just tucking that in between those two photos. And then I'll carry on with embellishing, adding a few more butterflies. I don't often work with florals. I do like them, but I don't know why. It's just not something that I use that much. So it was really nice to get them on this picture. It was a lovely girly photo of the four of us. So going through the ticket book now to see if there's anything on here that I can use. And I see this little one that says magical. And I think that works quite nicely because it was a magical day. And that prompts me to pull out my 49er Market tickets. These yellow ones are great. And don't forget to look at the reverse as well if you're not too worried about what the ticket itself says. Like that one that I've put under the magical ticket, I'm just using the reverse of it because it's a beautiful mustard colour. And I didn't need any more printing on that ticket, so just using the reverse is a great way of doing it. I love these arrows. And I love the stamps, so the stamps are great for layering with the tickets. And these arrows on this other reel that's in the box are a great addition. So I'm just going to trim the edge to an arrow point, and then that will nestle nicely underneath that flower. And it just points to the cushion, which is what we've made. And again, it's just drawing your eye around the page, bringing that mustard in, because you've got it on that sticker where it says laughter, and I've got it on that ticket at the top. So just creating that visual triangle that we all talk about. So gluing all these down with my wet adhesive. I will use some foam pads on some of those florals to raise them up. Just going around, trying not to move things too much, because I'm getting to that age where I forget where everything goes. You move it and then you can't remember where on earth you had it. So just popping everything down. The butterflies, I just glue the body down so that the wings still flutter free. And they should stay like that a bit to a certain extent in the page protector, because you've got some more dimensional pieces on here. They'll hold the page protector away from the rest of the layout. So here's a piece where I'm adding some foam just to raise it up. And that's a classic example of I've put it back down in a completely different position. And I realise that when I go to glue this arrow piece on, because you can see the left-hand side, which I don't really like, but I will find something else to sort that out in a bit. And another piece from the foam sticker sheet that says Friends. I wasn't sure where to put it. I did quite like it tucked down on that left-hand side when I put it there, but in the end I put it at the bottom, just nestled between the two photos there in that corner. And then looking to see if there's anything else, and I spot a flower, so that's what I'll use to fill in that gap there. And again, it's just bringing in different textures and dimensions. So now to the title, and I'm just going to spell out Lynette Anderson Workshop. So Lynette Anderson, I've used an old Jelly Bean Soup label sticker, alphabet sticker, and then the word workshop is a very old LE Studio sticker sheet. My roller date stamp below that cushion photo for the date, and then some journaling which I'm freestyling, which is very unusual for me, no lines, because it's a very, very short. It just says a wonderful day with Leslie and Julie at Lynette's Workshop. So adding one more ticket down here. I just wanted to bring the eye down a little bit down to that printed grid. So that goes behind there. And then a last final look at the other embellishments that I've got. So I've got this sticker book, and there are some lovely embellishments here, but not a lot to add to this layout apart from a little star in the end. And then once I've added that, I'll go into the enamel dots, and they're great value for money because you get 2 sheets of them, both the same, but they're absolutely beautiful, these little enamel dots. So I'm going in with some stars at the beginning, and then the little, I don't know what you call them, I suppose they are like stardust, the little triangular piece, diamond pieces that are on here, but they look really cute. That's one of them there. And that's pretty much it. So please do check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in on this fabulous hop. And I shall see you tomorrow for the next sketch. Thanks so much for joining me. See you then. Bye.